And what in heaven's name brought you to Casablanca?
My health. I came to Casablanca for the waters.
The waters? What waters? We're in the desert.
I was misinformed.
He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
You're tearing me apart!
What?
You say one thing, he says another, and everybody changes back again!
It's cleanup in aisle 9 or yeah, but with Senator Susan Kent. I'm going to throw the lob ball question up with the only intent that she has to ask me the same question in return. So what do you think? Governor Walz is running for a third term. Your thoughts? And your mic is muted, by the way.
Thank you for that. You would think after a few years.
You think you'd get used to got to have that on? Yeah.
I'm the worst at the unmuting. Which surprises people.
That's a good point.
We've talked a little bit about this. I'm excited. Let me just put it that way. This is a place where you and I are going to disagree, and you are going to, but me a lot on this one, I'm pretty sure. But I have worked closely with Governor Walz, and I know him to be just a decent human who cares a lot and really wants this state to do well. And I am really concerned with the effects of what's happening nationally on our state. And I frankly think that he is in a position, I'll be honest, and this is not about him. This is about sort of the structural thing of it all. I have had doubts about anybody successfully running for a third term. And because I just think that voters in general, we all have lived our entire lives except for a few of our most senior citizens with the 2-term limit for president. Yeah. And we just sort of see that as a norm. And so there's that. But I also think that, between now and next November, a lot's going to be happening. And I think a lot of people are going to recognize that we need somebody who is experienced and knows how to get us through some crises. And, there are going to be a lot of stuff lobbed at him. And, that's a conversation that everybody's going to have and voters are going to have to decide.
Are you going to ask me what I thought? I threw it to you saying you had
sorry.
Oh.
So, Al, I hear that the governor made an announcement yesterday. What do you think about it?
See, I find that interesting you bring it up because it was about a week ago, and there was an article about whether he was in or was he not, and he's getting his people are talking him into it. And I said on the air, I said, I really don't want my governor talked into it. I really want him to be like, let's go, team, Yeah. And so
we had that conversation.
So, we did. Okay, so I know I said it out loud, and I'm thinking, okay, that was brilliant, Al, because you really do want your governor to be way into it. So the fact he announced does not surprise me, but I have this, okay, and again, I read this story, I'm not really stunned, but a couple things stuck out to me. One was he didn't do an event. Now, this could be great if this is a style thing he's trying to do. Almost everybody who ever ran for anything, I'm going to announce it at the coffee shop, bring the print, the paper, and the people, and we'll take pictures, and they do an event. Now, if we stop doing that, I'd be okay with it. Maybe he's a trendsetter, or it's back to my little whole bored with the whole thing. I'll be your governor, but I'm not going to do it. And because the other thing they did announce was he raised $1 million. Well, I watched the video. It isn't a $1 million video. People didn't just dive over. He's been raising money for a while. Fine, this is what people do. He's got the checks in his pocket. I'm in now. Here, put him in the cat. It's a thing. Yeah. So he is running it the way everyone else does. Right. But for me, and again, I'm a righty, so he's going to do a lot. But I need him to show me he really wants in the game. We've had too many people saying they're talking him into it and this and that. Now there's something to the fact where he needed something. I don't think he could not run and then 2 or 4 years later decide I want to be the vice president again. I think he had to have a spot. So I think there might be something that this gets him to his next spot, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way the game is played. I'm not ripping that. But I need him to show me, I'm happy to be back. Yeah, thank you. Otherwise, I think he will lose some folks because that's all we talked about for the last month.
Well, and this was part of our conversation last week. I just and I think it's interesting because when you and I last spoke, it was Wednesday morning before Charlie Kirk was shot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And something you and I have talked about since June is I think that a lot of Republicans have really underestimated the effect that the shootings of
You
the
said-
Hortmans and the Hoffmans had on Democrats.
Yeah.
And so in that week, maybe Republicans have gotten a glimpse of how.
Oh,
hard
I
that
think
has
you're
been,
right onto something there. I think you are onto something. I would
And-
agree that we didn't feel the same pain because now we're feeling that. I get it.
But aside from
Go
that, because I get the pain that Republicans feel
No.
on a lot of levels, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what we've been through. You know, I had more than a few people ask me if my name was on that list. And
No,
nobody told me my name was on that list, but a lot of people, I mean, you know, it's like that's how personal that whole thing
Oh,
was,
yeah.
right?
Oh.
And so you know, now I think the rest of the population has a sense of sort of what that feels like. And my point with regard to Governor Walz is I think that this just really sort of, you know, shifted the sands under a lot of people's feet. And I appreciate that he took the time to sort of and not to mention his governing partner and someone that he really, really cared about. I mean, this loss hit a lot of us in many different.
Well, that's why I love
practical
having
and
you all.
personal ways.
I
Yeah.
love having you all on the show that I have on here because you do have that difference the rest of us don't. Well, I felt horrible. I mean, just because I knew her,
No. Yeah.
But it's different when you're in the job. You've been there,
Yes.
done that, and so
Exactly.
I'm not
And
discounting.
I'm not talking about you. But I will just say that with regarding to him, I don't think that I think that just caused him to sort of take a pause and really, and I think my analogy that I used last week was, you know, a version of, do you have the gas in the tank for 4 years, right? Did he feel like and he may have the physical energy and the mental energy, but did he have the emotional, like, I can keep doing this. And I give him credit for taking the time to let all that process. I'm a big believer in, you know, how churches, when the longtime pastor leaves and they get an interim in, and then, you know, so that you have, everybody has a chance to sort of reset and get a hold of, and then you do that process of really sort of assessing where you stand and what do we want moving forward. I believe in that. I think we as human beings need to have interims in our lives more often.
I agree.
And it's like this thing with political violence. Everybody just needs to, like, stop talking, like, listen, process, think, and then figure out what's the right thing for you or for your family or for the organization that you're leading or whatever the role is. Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit about the freedom of speech on the other side, because I 100% agree. Should people, if they put those weird videos out, be held accountable? What does that mean? Because again, I'm a free speech guy. I'm having my own issues on what I am willing to accept or not. But we can do that on the other side. We'll do it right after this.
Yes.
Chomping at the bit over there. She's like, let's talk that. We've got our Senator Susan Kent on the Ultra. Well, you guys were the known free speech folks for the 60s and 70s. That was your whole bailiwick right there. We'll talk about it coming up right after this.
You need a friend at the Capitol who knows how to get things done.
And you're in luck, because that's exactly who we are, your friends at the Capitol, and we deliver results.
At Momentum Advocacy, we bring decades of experience in lobbying, public affairs, and crisis communications.
From local nonprofits to national corporations, we help you move policy, manage your media, and make your voice heard.
We're not just seasoned pros, we're essential partners.
Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol. Learn more at momentum-advocacy.com.
Dust from livestock buildings can be harmful to your animals and to you. Coughing animals can lead to costly vet visits and other serious health problems. Now there's an environmentally safe solution for your dust problems. It's called DustLock. DustLock can control the dust all summer long with just one application. Protect your animals and your health with DustLock. Learn more at dustlock.com.
kidding me?
You know that comment you said to the radio? The thing that we got wrong?
Clearly, Brussels sprouts are the worst vegetable.
Call us and let the world know your thoughts. 855-257-7469. That's 855-ALS-SHOW.
We've got our Senator Susan Kent going to talk a little free speech. I think she should know that at least half the people on this conversation think we already give her too much time to talk anyway. Just kidding.
Are you that half plus of people?
Well, out of the two of us, okay, didn't think it was you. Here, I have had run-ins with free speech. Free speech has kind of been my jam since I started radio 100 years ago, and have been caught up in weird stuff, people saying weird things. So I'm a big proponent of it. I lost family members literally because I stood up and said, you know what, it was Twitter back then, but Trump was being asked me to take off Twitter or something. And I stood up and said, nah, he has a right to be a knothead and say what he wants. Just don't follow him. And family members got all over my grill and don't talk to me today. It's like, okay, if you hate me because I'm a First Amendment guy, go ahead. So now,
I'm sorry, just
go ahead.
to make sure I understand. So, what was the argument that you shouldn't have said don't follow him, or that
they had posted something online that said, you know, Trump should be pulled off of Twitter or whatever. It was Twitter back then, right. And I said, I think you're wrong. I think you don't have to listen, yada. And then the whole conversation is, it's a private business. You can do what you want. I said, I get that, but then let the private,
right?
Yes.
So this and that's an important distinction, right? I mean.
They can do it, but should they, is my point. And this is kind of where I fall on should you or shouldn't. And this is where our conversation goes now, and I'll leave it up to you. So these knotheads do these, and I call them just distasteful little videos. And then you start now seeing a lot of them coming out saying, I just got fired from my job at X, Y, and Z or wherever it was. First off, some of them, you know what, maybe you need to be held accountable. I don't know about the firing. So I'm at a loss. I don't know. Your thoughts. If someone is going to dance on the grave of whoever... Right. Should they be allowed to be fired? I don't know.
I think this is such an important conversation, and I think it gets so lost because everybody's just throwing junk out into the universe. I tried to clean up my language there, but
thank you, because there are FCC rules that we have to follow. There's freedom, but I get me kicked off.
Right, exactly. But you know because when we talk about free speech refers to the First Amendment, right? And that is a constitutional freedom of speech from government interference, right? Yeah. And so that is the thing we're really talking about when we say free speech. The other side of that is, and I've thought about this a lot in the conversation in the wake of the horrible murder of Charlie Kirk. Because the rest of it, when someone dies, whether it's natural causes or whatever the circumstances are, we have it's bad manners to speak ill of the dead. It's a tradition. Yeah. We don't say bad things about, we don't say negative things about, even if they're true, right? About someone who has died. And so, I think a lot of that emotion, which I understand that emotion, people don't want to hear someone they care about being denigrated. Even if people believe and they think they have the facts on their side, there are people who just say this too soon, not the time, right? And so that's a sort of a separate category. But when you do see people losing their jobs over, and what I've heard, and this is anecdotal, I don't have any sort of documented whatever, but people who literally we're trying to make sure people were paying attention to some stuff that they think was pretty horrible that Charlie Kirk said, using direct quotes of his, right? And then they lose their jobs because of that. That seems like it's a bit extreme, but those are choices, right? Yeah. But the thing about what Pam Bondi is doing now. So her reaction to this, I think, is what's really problematic. She is our attorney general, which historically, at least since Watergate, and let's give a shout out and rest in peace to Robert Redford and his fabulous portrayal.
Oh, is that so sad? Oh my God, I forgot to bring that up. God, I love Robert Redford.
I know. It's like you and I both grew up with him. Like he was everywhere.
Sundance Kid. He was,
entire lives. I know. But all the President's Men, that was Watergate, and it was after the abuses of Richard Nixon that we depoliticized clearly the Department of Justice and the Attorney General's role. And now she comes out and talking on a podcast with Stephen Miller's wife, which, she said literally there's free speech and then there's hate speech, and there's no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society for hate speech. That's a direct quote. And then when Katie Miller asked her, would you like to see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and put cuffs on people? And Bonnie said, we will absolutely target you. This is the attorney general, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech. Well, our Supreme Court,
who's going to decide who's hate?
Well, they actually have. You know what I mean? They literally have drawn a line and said, hang on one second, because I want to get this quote right. They have said that speech can be prohibited if, quote, it is directed at inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action, right? So, I mean, there's a very clear line between inciting violent behavior and criminal acts versus just saying you don't like somebody.
Yeah, you hate somebody. No, again, I agree with you because it's the fire in a crowded theater, right? I mean, we all know you can't do that.
Right.
But the one that I get lost in is this crazy kid, whatever, goes to school for a quarter and then, just changes his personality, whatever. I thoroughly believe somewhere down the road in one of the groups of the chat and then the thing, he let everybody know, I'm going to finally take this under my own hands. At some point, we have to believe the people when they write the bad stuff. I'm going to if Al writes, I'm going to shoot X. Somebody got to take me up on it because we can't wait for it to happen. The guy with the Hoffmans and the Hortmans, right? Roommates, and I don't know why we have heard so little about this since. He was ordering a mask, ordered cop gear, ordered the cop sticker for his car. You tell me a roommate didn't say, Bob, what are you doing? Right. We got to start, because to me, a lot of it is mental health. Obviously, they knew Bob, but we don't want to give Bob ticks. We're not going to say anything. And I think his name actually was Bob. But you get my point. I don't know I couldn't tell you what porn is, but I know when I see it. I don't know what the wrong conversation is, but it's there.
I agree with you. I agree with you completely. But what I'm going to say is that the Trump administration, as they have decimated our government and fired a whole bunch of people and reallocated people to do different things, they have pulled a whole bunch of people out of these FBI and law enforcement federal investigative roles about domestic terrorism and other types of where they're doing that monitoring. They cut funding to the Minnesota Department of Public Safety for staff who would pay attention and be watching that exact type of activity and trying to find and intervene in advance. And so, it's fine to say we want to try to stop those people. You can't do that by just wishing it into reality. We actually have to invest in those resources. And right now, the Trump administration and your friend Elon Musk and Doge have blown all that up. And a lot of that law enforcement right now is spending all their time in questionable immigration raids.
I love the way you throw that, especially at the very end when we're running out of time. Your friend Elon Musk, and it was like, Elon has never talked to me. I actually put a post on one time on X and then put his little, what do you call it, @ Elon Musk to see if he'd answer. Nothing. He and I aren't as tight as you would think we are. And the same thing with President Trump. I get no response from him when I send
talk to South
letters.
Korea about the immigration policies.
I got to fly. We're out of time. Love having you on the show. I thank you for doing this with me. It's Senator Susan Kent. As always, clean up an aisle 9 or and there's a lot of that today. Love having her on.
Tired of